Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the North Sydney Local Planning Panel. The panel sits once a month to determine a small number of development applications that can't be done under delegation. The majority of development applications these days are determined by council officers with appropriate delegation. Those matters that come within 10 or more objections and also variation, more than 10% variation to development standards come to this panel for determination as buildings and a few other categories. We have 5 matters on the agenda for today for applications for us, and what we are doing, we will be hearing from each of the objectors, submitters, and then I invite the applicants on the matter to address the panel, and they may consider that they should be responding to any concerns raised by panel members, raised by both panel members and where they've heard concerns raised by objectors. Today on the panel we have 4 people, and I will ask each of them to introduce themselves to you and to indicate whether they have a conflict of interest or not. I'm Joan Morell, I'm chair of the panel and have been since the inception of the panel. I sit on a number of other panels in the Sydney region, as well as chairing other panels. I am a town planner, and prior to retirement, I was a commissioner with the Land and Environment Court for 14 years. So I'll invite the others to introduce themselves. David Logan, thank you.
Hi, David Logan. I'm an architect planner, and I've been on the panel for a couple of years, and I also sit on Hunters Hill and Strathfield panels. That's what I'd say, and no conflicts in relation to this matter or any of these matters.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lloyd Graham. I'm a town planner and also an economist with a background working for state government in Western Australia, principally. I have no conflicts of interest with regard to any matter before the panel today.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, Virginia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Virginia Waller. I'm an architect. I'm registered in New South Wales. I've been practicing architecture for over 15 years. I've been on this panel since 2013, and I have no conflicts of interest today.
Thank you, and I have no conflicts of interest either. One thing we would like everyone to do is to mute themselves unless they've been asked to speak and address the panel. It just allows for any interference to be avoided. This afternoon, we will call first of all for item number 1, which is 59 Cowdroy Avenue, Camaray. This is for alterations and additions to provide a 3 to 4 storey dwelling house with a swimming pool. Everyone can be assured that all the panel members have carried out site inspections for all the items on the agenda today. I have the applicant here and I have the owner. First of all, I'm going to invite the first submitter, which is Norman Lum. Are you online, Mr. Lum? Okay.
By that name?
We'll see whether we can get him online. So do we have a Mr. Lum registered? Is there a Mr. Lum registered to speak? Oh, okay. All right. No, I don't. Right, that's the conflicts of interest. Okay, sorry. Okay. Yes.
Usually, sorry.
Yes, I do. Now, the only person that I have registered to speak, I retract what I said just a moment ago, there were a number of submitters to this particular application, 3 submitters that have been considered in the assessment of the report. And I'll invite Julian Brenchley, our architect, to address the panel. Thank you.
Unmute, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, is that better? Can you hear me now?
We certainly can, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, look, I was unsure whether, well, thank you for the opportunity to speak first. I was unsure whether any objectors were going to be speaking, so I've registered as a sort of a just in case. As a summary, we fully accept the council report. I believe we've worked quite well with the council staff to resolve a few site coverage issues and to provide extra information with regard to views and such, which are all too topical in the area. Council has seen fit to support the application, and I'm instructed to accept the conditions of approval that are contained in the rear of the council's report. In summary, look, if there are any other questions, I was really putting my name down to speak just in case there were some issues raised.
Well, thank you, Mr. Brenchley. We do always appreciate having the architects available if there are any questions. We have all inspected this site, and I understand that the panel, are there any members of the panel who would like to ask a question? No? No? So you have already indicated that you accept the conditions contained in the officer's report?
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. Okay then. Very well. We will be making a determination on this matter, and our decision will be on the website by the end of the week. We have considered the report, and in so doing, then we will determine it later. But thank you very much for your appearance today. Thank you.
Yep, thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next one that we shall look at is item number 2, which is 5 Carlisle Lane, Wollstonecraft. And this was alterations and additions for a multi-level dwelling, including a double garage, rooftop garden and associated landscaping. I do have people registered to speak. They are for the applicant. I don't have any submitters registered to speak. So I'll invite the town planner, Tim Cooper, and Michael Harris, if you wish to come online. And we have the owners as well, Sunny Dillon and Raj Dillon, on the line as I understand it. Very well, thank you. And this one is recommended for refusal. And would the applicant's architect or planner like to address this? Can I say that we have received the additional information that was forwarded by Chapman Planners yesterday, and we have all read that. So perhaps that might be a good starting point. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I won't read over everything submitted. I trust the panel have already digested the information we've submitted and are well across the application. Might I just touch on the fact that this is a complicated site, as you would know, being there, and we feel the council have assessed this as it's just a regular site. Due to COVID, maybe they've been under some time pressure and there was no facility to have meetings, but I just need to be clear, the owner, the applicant and us, the planner, we wish to achieve a positive result for everyone. The architect has designed this building over many years of back and forth with ourselves, and I believe prior to our involvement, the applicant has actually spoken to council, albeit not a pre-DA meeting, but they did have some preliminary discussions. And all of this site analysis has come forward to this current scheme, which is essentially, although I recognise the court principles in place, calling it a new dwelling, but is essentially extending the existing dwelling to the street and to the rear, improving its amenity, which I believe it's facing some damp problems, and then providing a lift access to connect all levels together. I'm not sure if you've got the plans available, but might I just draw your attention to the section A, where you'll note the existing dwelling has actually a step right in the centre of it. This step in the building coinciding with the 7 metre site fall has pretty much determined the location of the lift. And there's no real opportunity to put the lift back, which I admit, and you can see as well through the height lines, which would resolve probably 90% of the height variation. The lift core is stuck right in the centre so it can service all levels of the dwelling. And that, I feel, is, although not reflected in Council's assessment report, not acknowledged, is the site circumstance for the clause 4.6. But anyway, we're not seeking to for a determination now. We just merely want the opportunity to discuss these site circumstances with council. And yes, we are prepared to do more amendments to the design, but just receiving one letter that says comply with these controls and then us giving amended plans and being told they haven't gone far enough and not being given an opportunity to actually work through these issues and actually get to the bottom of what the actual primary issues council has with the proposal, that's sort of led to this panel meeting where we are today. And we're sort of, yeah.
I understand and I have looked at the plans. The panel has looked at the plans that you forwarded, which you sought to lodge with the council on the 23rd of September. It seems that those plans don't go to resolving the issues that council have about the bulk and scale of this development. It is understood it's a constrained site, but at the same time, it appears to be an overdevelopment of the site, and clearly much greater amendments are required than what is contained in the amended drawings. So in that regard, I can understand that, council may not have accepted those plans, but at the end of the day, they were not going to meet with approval. The panel considers, yes, as I stated, this is a constrained site, but having regard to its context, it also needs to have greater consideration as to the controls of the site. And we will be making a determination, or you are seeking a deferral at this point in time. I'm sure you are aware that clause, or rather section 8.2 of the Act allows for an applicant to submit a new set of drawings to be considered for review, but under the same development application as such. So there is always that opportunity available to applicants as well. So I just wanted to stress that this is not necessarily the end of the road. I don't know what the panel will decide at the end of today, but there is always that opportunity available to you as well. Did your architect wish to address us as well?
I'm sorry, Chair. Unfortunately, the architect's unavailable to speak.
Right.
He just wishes to sort of raise the fact that this isn't just being designed for all benefit of the owners without consideration. We've actually gone through quite a detailed site analysis to get to where we are, and we do acknowledge that the council think the amended plans haven't gone far enough, though we haven't really had any conversation as to where they can go to still sort of meet the anticipated scope, but also and acknowledge the site conditions, but also get closer to what is an acceptable outcome for the site in terms of council.
Well, you've had the opportunity of reading the officer's report today, so that identifies a number of areas where it considers the development is not appropriate for the site. So that those issues or those concerns are addressed there as well. But I'll ask the panel members if they have any further questions, and before we conclude. Does the panel have any questions of Mr. Cooper, the town planner?
Lloyd Graham here. In the report, there is a comment about the inadequacy of the solar access assessment, particularly as the proposed development affects number 7 on the east side. I just draw that to your attention as a matter that would need to be examined and submitted as part of any new proposal that you have.
May I just raise your attention? I actually did, after reading the assessment report, I did have quite a lengthy discussion with the architect. I believe it was on Monday. He has informed me that the way the green roof lobby has been positioned was to avoid solar impacts to number 7, and he actually has modelled up the elevational diagrams and so forth, and perhaps more clarity could be provided to council through provision of this additional information.
Yes, that sounds a positive move. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, thank you, Mr. Logan.
Oh, hi. I'm looking at the upper plan, and the new west boundary setback appears to be very small, and appears to be 0.5 metre or something like that from the west boundary on the upper level. I see on the plan some dotted red lines which appear to possibly indicate that that is the existing situation. So the west elevation of the building seems to have a much greater setback from the side boundary. Am I reading that correctly?
The proposal actually retains the location of the existing western side setback. There are some red dotted lines like internal to the actual floor plate. They are perhaps there's a bit of confusion on the plans. They are the DCP side setback lines the architect has shown on the plan, and there's more red lines, perhaps these need to be clarified, that show the existing side setback of the dwelling currently on the site. So the proposal was to retain and reface this wall and extend it to the back, maintaining the side setback, noting this is actually the way the original house was designed, was sort of set against this setback here and then set off the irregular eastern setback. Because if it's sort of, if we keep pulling it, the way it was designed is if it keeps being pulled in to meet the DCP setbacks as you go up the site, you end up with a sort of ziggurat appearance from the street.
Yeah, I don't think what I'm looking at on the plan,
Yeah.
which seems to show a wall thickness, I don't think that's the DCP setback requirement. I think, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think that could be the existing building at the upper level, and that's what I'm seeking to clarify.
Look, I'm just looking at the same. Sorry, I'm looking at the upper plan now. Okay. Demolish walls shown in. At the front portion of, I'm looking at the upper plan now, there are some dotted lines to the west of where the bedroom 1 is. That's showing where the existing dwelling sits. And then that setback, yes, it comes in towards the rear, but that setback is at the front portion of the dwelling is extended back just to maintain a sense of like openness at the rear of the dwelling. But if that's what's required to pull it in at that point, we can investigate.
No, I'm not talking about what's required.
Okay.
I'm just talking about what exists.
Yeah, okay.
And there is a note that says demolished walls shown red. So I assume that the thicker walls on the west elevation of the building or adjacent to it are the existing side boundary walls at that level. I understand that below that the setback might be less, but I'm trying to understand what the setback is at the upper level.
So my understanding is that this level is retained.
So what would those thicker dotted red lines be?
Might I just throw to the owner? Perhaps he can clarify, as he has been talking to the architect during the more detailed design phase.
Are you talking the upper level above the garage ground space, right? Because that kind of extends.
Upper plan, DA04.
Yeah, okay. So that is to look at moving that wall in line with the lower level, so that we've got that straight sort of wall line running all the way back. That was a design consideration that we discussed initially, so that the building wasn't looking so much like a pyramid at the moment, which is what was happening with the overall design piece. So it is at the moment, I believe the red line is the line of the existing, and then the new solid line is the proposed.
Right. So you're confirming that you are encroaching further towards the side boundary in this proposal than currently exists at this level.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult because if you look at the side profile, you can see how it kind of touches the ground again. So it's you've got the sort of basement garage which goes into the slope, and then you've got that top upper level which is which we're trying to bring in line with the basement garage, so you get that continuous line or continuous wall all the way back through.
Just to clarify what David was asking, on that plan DA04, you've got a solid black line which is the outside of the building envelope, which is quite close to the site boundary, and then there's a dotted line. You can see it's got dressing and then bar. So is that's the demolition line? Is that correct?
I believe so. Tim, do you have that on screen by any chance? Are you able to screen share that?
Yes. So it is coming out at that point, yes.
That wouldn't comply with the BCA, would it?
I'm not a BCA consultant, so I couldn't advise.
So what was looked at when we did look at that western side elevation was there was some design considerations as to how the building would actually look from the street view. In addition, there was a number of other precedents set up and down the adjoining buildings. We've got flats to the left. We've got flats opposite as well, and they all don't comply with that setback from those from the boundary and so forth. So we're trying to keep the building in the same sort of design style as the surrounding buildings.
I'll just make the comment that there seems to be the need for a demolition plan rather than what we have in the plans before us, which are, I will say, a little confusing. And just because an existing boundary wall is at a minimum setback or less than what's required doesn't mean the rest of the building going up and forward should also encroach into the boundaries. Or rather encroach onto the normal setback areas. But anyway, we can look at that further after we've closed the public meeting, after we've closed this meeting. Any other questions from panel members?
No.
No. Very well. We will consider your request for a deferral and make our deliberations following this meeting. And as I stated, if the panel accepts the recommendation, you always have the opportunity for an 8.6 review, 8.2 review, sorry. And also, I just make the comment that it looks like the envelope on this building is pushed in all directions and skywards as well. And we have a significant 4.6, which is a requirement to be satisfied over and above all the merits considerations as well. So we need to be, that needs to be well justified. So as I said, we will be making our decision, and by Friday our decision will be on the internet. And thank you all for attending.
Do the applicants get a chance to address, or?
If you'd like to, I'm terribly sorry. I thought your town planner had addressed on your behalf.
Oh, okay.
No, you by all means
Okay.
say something if you wish to.
Yeah, look, I do feel that just from the beginning of this process with council, we have tried to approach them on numerous occasions, both written and otherwise, just to try and engage dialogue so that we could actually talk through what can and can't be done right from the very outset. From when I engaged them 2 years back through to now, we've just not been able to establish that dialogue adequately.
So you had a pre-DA meeting?
It was 2 years ago when we first kind of, I had very roughly sketched up what we wanted to do to try and discuss that in, they have like a weekly session or a fortnightly session, which they allow people to come in and try and do that. So that's where I originally pulled and coined some of these ideas together. I mean, the main problems we're trying to address really is, you know, we've got severe damp and ventilation issues, there's elderly disabled access, and the placement of the lift has kind of then shifted everything else within the space of the building. We want to retain the building as it is. There's by no means do we want to be demolishing the building.
So what proportion of the building is to be retained?
So we're looking at just extending the building outwards to the sides. There is a movement forward, but we're engulfing just the existing balcony that we've already got there. And then there's some extension to one of the lower grounds at the back.
Well, there are considerable extensions. As I said, you won't be able to recognise the original. So I'm just wondering whether, in fact, alterations and additions or a new construction is.
Yeah, look, the building would be totally different if it was if we were constructing it from scratch. We are working with the existing building as it stands because it works for us, and the internal flows and placements. Sorry, go ahead, son.
Sorry, I was trying to get it. Internally, there's not too much of a change. The bedrooms are where they are, the living spaces are as they are. So if you were to externally, it will look fresher, more windows, but internally it will be pretty much the same. There's not much that you can change internally. The reason, it's ironic actually, because I'm actually at the hospital right now. Sorry, that's why I've been walking room to room. My daughter suffers from asthma. So past 48 hours, I've been at the hospital. She suffers from asthma, which is triggered by damp and mold issues in the house, which was the main motivator for putting together this development, to get more light into the house, to get more airflow into the house, because we do have severe health issues. I'm at hospital now with my youngest. So I guess we just would like to have some conversation with council, some sort of discussion or meeting, rather than being given this document that we have to fulfill. It'd be nice to have some sort of human discussion and contact to go through what the options are, to come out with a mutually positive outcome. We would like to work with council. So if we could have some discussion with them to go through the reasons, or how we can come to some positive outcome.
Okay then, thank you very much. Is there anything further you wish to address the panel with?
Yeah, I think the assessment report did include quite a lot of omissions and inaccuracies that we would have liked to have corrected, and that's where we believe we could have worked with council to work out some of those miscalculations that might have been made, or some of the omissions that were included. There were designs that and design amendments which we were very happy to make, but it was just a matter of having that dialogue and trying to explain and understand, both in terms of us understanding and the council also understanding why we've got certain designs and placements of windows, or certain spaces created for ventilation purposes or otherwise. We have tried to address the bulk and scale, and even after if we were to complete everything that was proposed, the building is quite dwarfed compared to the flats next door, the flats opposite, and the number 7 Carlisle Lane right next to us, which is quite a giant bulk, which sits right on the curbside itself as well. So a lot of the building design that we worked on, we really very carefully looked at it in relation to the adjoining buildings. It wasn't just the design in itself solo, but the design in relation to the adjoining buildings and any sort of other concerns that neighbours have had. We have tried to reach out to the neighbours that we do know, but there's a lot of people in different flats and we don't know everybody. And we have had the conversations with those neighbours, and those neighbours that you perhaps haven't heard from are those that have said actually they really love the design. Finally, the house is getting a bit of a makeover after all these years to sort of modernise it and everything else. So those aspects or the positive aspects of the design are probably being completely missed from what's being presented in this view.
Okay then, well thank you very much. We'll consider what you've had to say today, and we also will look at, or we have already looked at the supplementary material that you sent through, and our decision will be on the website by the end of the week. And thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for your time.
Right. The next matter that we have on the agenda is item number 3, and this is 4 Calindia Avenue, Neutral Bay, and this is demolition of the existing residential flat building and the construction of a new residential flat building. I can state that everybody has attended the site, so we understand its context. I have the planner and the architect present. No objectors registered to speak. So I'll ask Mr. Mark Schofield and Paul Bourgevec to address the panel.
Oh, good afternoon, Madam Chair and panel members. Thanks for the opportunity to address you. We've read Council's report and we agree with its findings and recommendations. So we'll just make ourselves available today for any questions that you might have.
Thank you. I do note that this particular matter attracted in the first instance some 24 submissions, and so for the panel for number of submissions as well as a residential flat building as such. As I said, we understand that there is basement parking for 2 levels of basement parking with a car lift, and this provides storage as well as car parking for the future residents of the building. I don't have any questions. I'll seek to ensure that the other panel members don't have any questions.
No questions.
It's Lloyd Graham here. You would be aware that there was a design excellence panel that had a look at this proposal some time back, and there was some concern about the units G01 and G02. And I'm just wondering if you could just very briefly summarise your response to those difficulties that were outlined and how you see those 2 units functioning better than the original design.
Good afternoon, panel. Paul Bourgevec, Director at PBD Architects. I might just look to answer that question. There were some amendments made as a result of that feedback at the Design Excellence Panel meeting, part of which were in the north easternmost corner of GO2 primarily. There was a shift to move the habitable component of that apartment such that the bedrooms were shifted south, such that the subterranean component, which reflected a habitable room, removed that conflict, so that it was lessened in terms of its subterranean component or removed from that most critical point. In addition to that, there have been some further adjustments made to that apartment to further set back the built form to align with the existing building on site at ground floor to accommodate the existing trees in that location to ensure their retention So combining those two factors, that there's been a significant improvement in terms of addressing what the panel had raised on the day.
Okay, thank you very much.
There is one just minor, this is the one for the 2.3. Yep. One minor oversight in the condition is that I4, talk about a minimum headroom of 2.2 to be provided for parking areas, and it requires the words except for accessible spaces, which is 2.3. That would not pose any problems in the design and build of the matter, would it?
Not at all. We'd be required to meet those requirements as part of the Australian standards in any case.
Yep. Okay. Rightio. No further questions. Well, thank you both for making yourselves available to us, and the design of the building, I think the panel considers it will sit very comfortably within its context, and in that regard you can find the panel's decision in 2 days' time on the website.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, panel.
Okay, we'll now move to item number 4 on the agenda. And item number 4 is for Unit 1, 6 Holbrook Avenue, Kirribilli. And this is for internal alterations and additions to a heritage item. I don't have any objectors registered. I have to speak the applicant, Harriet Isaac Cole. Are you available online?
Yes, I am. Hi, I'm here.
Thank you. I actually don't have any questions of you. We noticed that these are internal modifications to a heritage item. We noticed that one will still be able to read where the wall was between the kitchen and the living area, and that consideration has been given to the heritage value of the building. Do any of the other panel members have a question?
Lloyd Graham here. Obviously, you've read the report, and that includes a list of conditions.
Yes.
Are you okay with those conditions? There's quite a few of them there.
I'm going to review it further, but at the moment, I don't see any issues with those conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Very well. Well, that concludes the development applications for this meeting, and I thank everybody who has made themselves available to the panel to answer any questions. And we'll now move to the final item on the agenda, which is to do with delegations from this North Sydney planning panel, local planning panel, to council officers in the matter of minor issues. So I should invite Mr. David Hoy. Could I ask you to put a brief summary? We have the report in front of us, which is a result of directions made by the Minister for the streamlining of the development assessment process and the relevant acts and whatnot. So I would just ask Mr. David Hoy, the author of the report, to provide us with a brief summary for the record in terms of what is anticipated to be delegated to the council officers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just by way of addressing the matters before the panel in this report, the purpose of the report is to actually obtain efficiencies in the turnaround times and performance of the council in relation to matters that are nominally technical in nature and non-significant applications that would otherwise be required to be referred to the panel. This includes a request for a process to be put in place around discussions of contentious applications which should otherwise be refused. The recommendations of the report reflect the powers available to the panel under the Act, and the report is there in order for the council to improve in its DA turnaround times.
Thank you. And in terms of departures from development standards, the one of the main issues is where we have an existing building that exceeds the height control, and this requires a lot of matters to be referred to the panel, but in fact it may be a balcony enclosure or something within the existing height of the building already. So therefore those matters will be delegated to council officers, and they will not need to come to the panel. This is consistent with what many other councils have already done as well. And if I can also add to what Mr. Hoy said, I as chair have participated in discussions with David and his senior as well in terms of what is appropriate. This is something that we need to monitor in an ongoing sense as well, because we must ensure that development applications are processed within a reasonable time frame. At the same time, we also need to ensure that where there have been a number of public submissions, such as 10 or more, that in the spirit of the Minister's direction, that these continue to come to the panel. So the panel may make some changes to this report in terms of the recommendations, just to ensure that the consistency with the Minister's direction is maintained. So having said that, I would like to formally close this meeting at 2:45 and thank everybody for their participation. Thank you.